Cheeky little hot chocolate.
Recently, I got a text from a friend warning me to stay away from Mare Street in Hackney. Thieves on scooters were going around throwing acid into people's faces so they could make off with their bags and phones.
You see that? That is just, when you hear, I've grown up in Luton. Luton's one of the roughest towns in the UK. There's a lot of violence. Violence against people who are in a violent lifestyle. Throwing acid over ordinary people who are being robbed. If you rob someone, robbers rob, thieves rob. But hurting them in such a horrific way, that's absolutely unwarranted in any sort of lifestyle, any sort of gang culture or anything.
The first time I'd ever heard of acid being used outside of an honour or revenge-based attack and as a weapon to commit petty theft.
I've never heard of anything like that. Anything like that. Growing up all my life, and a lot of violence and a lot of trouble and a lot of crime. Never heard of people just hurting people in that way.
No one expects acid to be thrown on them on a night out. Since 2010, there have been 1,800 reported acid attacks in the capital, with a steep 70% rise from 2015 to 2016. As the number of victims grows, data suggests Britain has the worst record in the developed world for assaults with household acids like bleach and drain cleaner.
My identity's changed because of what's happened, because I am scarred for life, so I'm not the person I wanted to be.
Look at his face, man. Look at his face.
Most people in the UK first heard about the rise in acid attacks because of the Mango incident. In this nightclub in Hackney, 20 people were sprayed with acid. The attack, which happened between two groups of men, allegedly over drugs, left two clubbers blind in one eye, two men with severe facial injuries, and people needing treatment for scarring. An incident involving such a large group of people is rare, but the Mango attack confirmed that the use of chemicals as a weapon is now horrifyingly common in the UK. Earlier this year, there were reports of acid attacks happening in the suburbs just outside London, from a 17-year-old throwing industrial drain cleaner over 5 teenagers at a train station, to chemicals being thrown at a kids' football game and even between school children, one of them as young as 12.
What have we created?
So why do you think that most of the victims tend to be men?
I suspect, based on the data we have, and which is very limited, so there's some degree of speculation here, that it could be kind of gang-on-gang related attacks. What we do know is that only a quarter of attacks recorded have actually led to charges being brought.
Why do you think victims are afraid to come forward?
There's an issue of stigmatisation around acid attacks because of your appearance, you've been marked, but also the genuine real threat that there might be violent repercussions. The issue of masculinity is probably an underlying cause for all of the countries, including the UK.
The issue of masculinity. This geezer wants to blame it on masculinity. London has major cultural problems. I've grown up in one of the most violent and roughest towns in the UK. I've seen and experienced violence my whole life. Yeah? This has nothing to do with masculinity. This is to do with a huge cultural problem happening in our capital city. A huge problem.
So we really need to better understand what it is about our culture that facilitates this kind of...
About our culture? Oh, it's our culture.
Behaviour. It has to be about engaging with young men and talking and understanding and encouraging them to understand the repercussions.
Talking and understanding why they're throwing acid in people's faces.
Can you tell me a bit about the day that led to the attack?
I struggle to believe that these people are not targeted for something. I struggle with that. And that's just from experience my whole life in Luton. I struggle to think if someone's knocking at your door and throwing acid in your face, there's a reason. Not a justified reason, but there's a reason. I see it all the time. I see people, like in my local news, I'll see, they tied these people up in their house and stole their jewellery. Now I know from growing up in Luton and the estates that person was a drug dealer. That's why you were tied up in your house.
London is the acid attack capital of the UK, but it's the East London borough of Newham with the highest number of cases.
Okay, Newham. I know Newham. So Newham is the capital where all these attacks are happening, the majority. London's had 1,800, 25% of them are in Newham. So what should we look for? Newham is 47% South Asian. I know that, okay? What is the world capital of where these attacks happen? It's in Bangladesh. Bangladesh and South Asia. A large proportion of the people who live in Newham are from Bangladesh. This craze has been imported. We've brought it into our country with people who come into our country. Once a craze like this starts within the criminal underworld or within the gang scenes, then it spreads. But the fact that this has come from Newham, which is 47% South Asian, is pretty telling. I bet they don't even mention it. I bet they mention nothing about the demographic of Newham.
I'm going to go to one of Newham's many hardware stores to see just how easy it is to pick up a corrosive liquid.
Oh, so it's because the hardware stores sell it?
Just picked up several drain and blocker products from the hardware store. There are about 15 hardware stores in Newham that sell these kind of household liquids. Handled with extreme care, can cause severe burns.
Also say the fact that you can't get done for carrying this. That's just like, that could be a huge factor as well for why criminal gangs are carrying it in their pockets, because if you're carrying a knife, you're going to get done.
A few days later, we heard about another attack happening not far from the hardware store where we bought sulfuric acid. A man in his mid-20s was rushed to hospital after he was stabbed and had acid thrown over him in broad daylight. The attacker got away on the tube, and no one has been arrested in connection with the assault.
See, it's gang related, isn't it? It's gang related, guaranteed. But no mention of the demographic of Newham that could be playing a part in why these attacks are.
But why is acid-based crime becoming so commonplace in the city? Dr. Simon Harding is a criminology professor and works on interventions with young people caught up in gang violence. So when did gangs start using acid?
Well, the strange answer to that is probably about 200 years ago. It originated probably in Scotland during the Industrial Revolution. It was known to be something that could cause damage. So it's been around. It's just fallen out of public consciousness. So it is worrying that it's kind of come back in the past 4 or 5 years as something that's also now adopted by street gangs.
We've got a criminologist whose reason for this, the radicalising factor for why this is happening in London right now, is the Victorians. You fucking idiot. What are you? What? What? Look at Newham, where this is born. 47% South Asian. Look at acid attacks in the world, where they all happen. South Asia. We've imported those people into our country. They've brought their culture with them. They've brought female genital mutilation with them. They've also brought acid attacks with them. It's not rocket science, is it? It's not hard. He blames on the Victorians.
Why do you think it's happening in East London so much, specifically?
They show a house with England flags on it. They show a house with England flags on it. They're showing St George's flags. Oh my God! I've got to see where this is going with the St George's flags.
The London Borough of Newham
has nowhere. It's gone nowhere. It just added in a house full of St George's flags into their documentary. Are they taking the piss?
So certainly in East London there is something
I wonder why it's happening in East London more than the rest of London.
Taking place, we're not entirely sure what.
We're not entirely sure what. You just said it's the Victorians, you retard.
What we do know is there's been a significant crackdown on the use of knives and guns by the police.
Now, bearing in mind I'm not a criminologist, I'm not an expert on anything, but I'm pretty sure the statistics go against everything he just said.
Is there a psychological element to using acid on someone? Because it seems to me that it's a weapon with serious psychological consequences.
You destroy them, don't you? You absolutely destroy that person. When I was in custody, that's what I was going to have, boiling water with sugar thrown into my face. Or an attempt made by...
Physical.
An attempt made by, guess what, a Somalian.
I think there is, and I think...
Eritrean, sorry.
It demonstrates an attempt to completely control somebody, to put them into a place of permanent pity, if you like.
You run a whole documentary on this issue and you not spoke about why it's been imported into our country other than you blame the Victorians. What an absolute waste of a programme. Look, we all know that honour violence, with honour violence or people violence and acid and off the faces, look how commonplace it is. Look how commonplace it is in the Middle East. Look how commonplace it is in Pakistan, in Bangladesh and all of these countries. And there's no mention, not one word mention. His justification, the criminologist that they've got on this show, his reasoning for this is the Industrial Revolution in Scotland.
50 years ago, in this kind of East London environment, scores would have been settled by a fist fight.
So what's changed? 50 years ago, in London, scores would have been settled with a fist fight. What's changed? Well, you've imported the third world into London. The problem is, with academics like this, they see the wood through the trees. He could be terrified of losing his job at the university, or he could just be willfully ignorant. But the truth is, 1 and 1 equals 2. The problem's coming from South Asia.
So we're going to go meet a young man that I've been working with, gang affiliated, a lot of complex issues, and work with him to actually empower him to be able to go out and make better choices to better his life and then therefore better his community. Started building a really positive rapport, positive relationship, building up trust. So he's not where he should be, but that initial process is taking place.
For obvious reasons, he wanted to remain anonymous.
So how did you meet Jermaine? What kind of stuff have you guys been doing?
You know, just linking up. He talks to me. He showed me like some other things I could be doing, innit? I really did. I tried to get jobs in that, but you go to them, they're like, okay, you got any criminal convictions? Yeah. What's your criminal conviction? Conspiracy to supply firearms. You don't get a call back. I've never had a call back. Never. What am I gonna do? Starve? Crime pays.
So do you know about acid attacks? Have you done it yourself?
Yeah. Me and a couple of people actually done something to someone, innit?
So who was the person that you did it to?
Ops. It basically means enemy. Your opposing side, ops. We went to a rave, ran into ops there. We were just fighting in a club. A couple of days later, and I just randomly see the ops and the baby mum, like, they're there, innit? You know what I'm saying? Like Tesco, innit? Just shopping. So I was like, cool. Ran to my boy, now he's in the car. My boy bought out a bottle, like a Lucozade bottle. And I was like, what's that? He's like, no, what you found? Like, just come, let's go. Alright, cool, say nothing, innit? Boom. Wait for them to come out now. I'm wrapping up the guy, like, just punching him off and whatnot. And my boy just undone the bottle and he just splashed the girl on it.
Splash the girl? Splash the girl? He splashed the girl? Fucking arseholes, man. What sort of level is that? What is that? You scumbags. I thought he was going to say I splashed the boy.
Well, she just started screaming.
Of course she started screaming, you prick. You just threw acid in her face.
So how come the girl got attacked as well? Because she didn't have anything to do with it, did she?
No, but she's a baby mum, innit? If I can't damage you enough...
That is just so backward. Because while I'm on this issue, when I talk about Islam and Muslims who target me or want to target me, I don't actually worry that they target my wife or children, because they're actually quite... All the Muslim lads I know growing up in Luton are quite family orientated. I've never actually had the threats coming from the ones I know or the gangs in Luton ever against my family. Ever. This bloke, it must be the lowest of the low I've ever seen.
So is acid like a last resort for you? Or is it like the first thing you think of? If you want to hurt someone, you think, I'm going to get some acid?
Nah, knives are like number one. Like, you can go in your mum's kitchen and get a knife. I've heard about people putting it on a knife, stabbing someone, so the wound don't heal on that. On a guy, I probably would have, innit? Like, I'll probably do something physical, but on a girl, like, they love their beauty, innit? So, hurt them, innit? Because on a guy, like, if you get scarred, it's a scar, like, you show it to your guy, yeah, there's something to me, innit? It's nothing. But when it's a girl, look at my face, you know what I'm saying? You get me? So, if I have to use it, 9 times out of 10, I use it on a girl, innit? Honestly.
So piercing through the bravado of all of that, what really scared and shocked me actually was how...
Could you imagine anyone talking like that 30 years ago, 40 years ago, Londoners? Cockney London lads sitting saying, yeah, 9 times out of 10 I'll stick acid over a girl's face because she likes her beauty. This has progressed. This is just a gang on gang now, people using it, but this culture's come from somewhere. It's come in from somewhere, and it's certainly the bloody Victorians. And they can talk all they want about stopping it. Rather than wasting £1.7 million on some new hate crime hub that Sadiq Khan wants, Maybe he should use his resources to find this little prick to start with. First of all, it would help if we weren't importing people in from cultures that promote this violence. That's part of everyday life in some of these countries. We're importing them in here. And seeing that Sadiq Khan has gone out of his way for stop and search, to decrease stop and search, we need to be searching these gangs in these areas. I don't care about how people feeling that like, it's racism. It's not racism. You're trying to prevent these disgusting barbaric attacks. You need to do everything within your capability to do that, and stop and search is one of those powers. I get searched all the time. I've been searched my whole way through my youth. I've been stop and search. I don't cry racism. I don't scream racism. You are profiling people based on the crime in those areas. Stop and search them if you have to stop this, to stop people carrying these weapons. But bloody hell, I can't believe what I just watched there with the views of that man. And yeah, I'm speechless off that. That's terrifying, isn't it? That is a twisted, backward mindset. And God knows how many more kids there are like that now in our capital city or in our country. But as I said, it may be everyone using it now, but it's been imported, the idea. And I think the fact that Newham's had 25% of all attacks. I think many of the attacks, what we see the media saying is crime and gangs, but many of them will still be honour-based. I don't know why we use that word honour. There's nothing honourable about it, but what I'd say is Islamic-based, where girls are stepping out of line or wearing a short dress or talking to blokes or doing what their family don't want them to do. But no matter what, the whole situation is depressing. Thank you for watching. If you like that and you want to see more, click like and subscribe.